Welcome to this week's edition of GRTV News. We're standing at the DICE offices in Stockholm. We can't quite tell you what we've been doing here, but we're going to bring you the latest headlines from the world of gaming. Now, first out, a couple of weeks back, Atari let everyone know that they weren't interested in hanging on to Cryptic Studios. And now they've finally found a buyer for the studio, and Perfect World Entertainment, who are responsible for Forsaken World, and they published Torchlight, have picked up the studio for $50 million. Now, we don't know quite what this means to the games that Cryptic are operating, such as Champions Online and Star Trek Online at this moment. But given the price tag, it's fair to assume that some of the assets and some of the properties come along with the buy. However, it's very unclear what's happening with Neverwinter, the game that Cryptic was developing for Atari. So that's up in the air at this moment, but I guess we're going to find out sooner or later what happened to that one. Activision and Infinity Ward and whoever else is working on Call of Duty these days have announced that a service called Call of Duty Elite. Basically, it's going to be a portal or a service that sort of connects everyone's Call of Duty experience, stats, on how you're performing in different levels, what you're doing with different weapons, means to optimize your Call of Duty experience basically. It will be free, parts of it, and there's also going to be a premium part of it that's going to be a fee that you pay to get the most out of the service. And this service will launch this summer with Call of Duty Black Ops as a beta, open beta, and it will launch proper with the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on November 8th this year. Square Enix have announced Heroes of Ruin for the Nintendo 3DS, a new game, a new RPG that will do a lot with the network capabilities of the 3DS. You will be able to trade different magical items through a trade network. You will be able to play cooperatively, and you will also be able to download daily missions to sort of keep on further your adventures in Heroes of Ruin. This new game is going to feature heavily at E3 at Square Enix booth, and we're excited to see something new from the big Japanese publisher for once. With just days remaining until E3, there are lots of rumors going around the industry, and some of them may turn out to be true. Others may just turn out to be dust, but actually there's been a leak with a pamphlet for something called the PS Vita. Supposedly that's the proper name for the PSP2 or the next generation portable that Sony have been showing off previously. I'm not sure about the PS Vita name quite yet, but perhaps it's better than naming it PSP2. We'll see if it turns out to be true at Sony's press conference at E3. Microsoft and LucasArts will show off a Star Wars game using Kinect at E3. Of course, it was teased all the way back at last E3, but we haven't heard a thing about it since. So it's going to be interesting to see just what kind of game that is and whether it's actually fun to sort of pretend to hold a lightsaber with your hands. Another rumor from the Sony camp is that they're bringing back the Syphon Filter franchise. You may recall it from the PlayStation days, the original PlayStation that is, when 3 titles came out. There's been a couple of titles since then, but now they're apparently are bringing out Syphon Filter 4 on a PlayStation 3, and the rumor says that it's development at Sony Studios in London and that it will be brought out late 2012. So we'll have to see if that holds up, but it sounds like there's potential good news for Syphon Filter fans out there. And finally, another good piece of news for Sony fans. PSN will be back to its fullest at the end of this week. PSN Store will be back, and you will be able to redeem codes, all that sort of stuff. You will be able to download your 2 PS3 games, 2 PS2, PSP games that are free as a, for Sony to compensate everyone for the problems that have been around for the last month on PSN. So finally, just in time for E3, PSN will be back to the full service that we all love and enjoy. So that's good news. And that's it for GRTV News this week, and we'd like to wave goodbye and give you a view of beautiful summer Stockholm.